The Jews were always jealous of Jesus, weren't they? They're always jealous. And here we have an example. He tells a story of a landowner. Let's go and read this. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a denarius, the denarius was a day's wages, by the way, and he sent them into his vineyard. They went out early in the morning. And he went out about the third hour, which is about 9 a.m., okay, and saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to those he said, you too go into the vineyard, and whatever is right I will give to you. And so they went on. And again he went out the sixth hour, which is about, let's see, that was 9 a.m., third hour. Now the sixth hour is high noon. And the ninth hour, and did the same thing. And he went out 3 o'clock in the afternoon also, at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And about the 11th hour, now this is 5 p.m., he went out and found others standing, and he said unto them, why have you been standing here idle all day? And they said unto him, because no one has hired us. And he said to them, you too go into the vineyard. And when the evening had come, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last group to the first. The last. Remember, so many times I talked about the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Now, let's look at our little chart up here. We have church history in the way, so we'll drop that down just a little bit. And let's look up here and see how God dealt with mankind. God dealt with Adam in the garden in the innocence, and then he dealt with a man under conscience, and that didn't work either. He told them to go do good and offer blood sacrifice, and they became very wicked and very evil. God brought a flood upon the earth and flooded the whole earth. And then he set up human government under Noah. And Noah, if you set up human government correctly, you have peace. Did you know that? Noah means what? Noah means peace. If you set up human government, you have peace. Because human government, the base of human government is protect the good people from the bad people. And to protect the people from the government and from horrible rulers. Today, we look at America today and everything is all upside down. The criminals have the advantage. One of these George Sorrell's DAs, district attorneys, and attorney generals let some people out. Let several of them out, and he let one of them out that had been a killer. And when he got out of prison, he went right home and killed his mother, and killed others there. I think about 4 people that he had killed. If he'd have stayed in prison, he would not have done that. If they'd have executed him for murder before, he wouldn't be around to turn loose. In human government, you have capital punishment for people that are horrible criminals that cannot be rehabilitated, that penal colonies don't work. There is such a thing as capital punishment. And capital punishment is one of the bases of government. So when you don't have the basis of government correct, then you don't have peace. As simple as that. Now let's go on a little bit further. We come on down to human government, then we have the division of the world. We have the division of the continents and the languages. Then God calls out Abraham and a promise. And then Abraham's children go into Egyptian bondage, God brings them out, and under Moses, he gives them the law. And we're under the age of the law unto the cross. We were under the age of the law for several basically a couple of thousand or more years, see? And those were in the vineyard for a long time, except they weren't really doing the job. God was getting ready to change his administration, and he tells us that in this parable. And when he hired the first came, and the likely would receive more, and they also received one each day's wages. They received a day's wages. And when they received it, they grumbled at the landowner. Saying, the last men came and worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden and scorching heat of the day. But he answered and said unto them, friend, I'm doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a day's wages? Take what is yours and go your way. But if I wish to give to this last man the same as you, for by grace ye are having been saved through faith, and that not of works. For we are created unto good works. Because when we are saved, we start doing good works. We start doing things differently. We start thinking differently in our lives. Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Israel. They brought, Jesus came to Israel, and they had been in the traces for so many hundreds of years, and yet they were not doing the job. Jesus told them, you converse land and sea to make one proselyte and make him 2 times the son of hell as you are. Because they would not accept the landowner. As you look out across the land, and we traveled the last few days quite a little bit, and we saw the cattle on 1,000 hills. I think I told you that, Marilyn, and I think I told Sharon that also. The cattle on 1,000 hills are God's. They're not ours. Every mountain, every rock you see is not ours or not someone else's. It is God's. And if he wants to allow a mouse or a rabbit to eat the little grasses out there in that area, that's up to God. It's his. Is it not lawful for me to do what I wish with what is my own? Or is it your eye envious because I am generous? As we see Jesus in his earthly ministry, we see him coming to he went into his own synagogue in Nazareth. And when he got up and read the book, and said, I am the one, I am the fulfillment of this, I am the Messiah, they wanted to kill him. And they followed him from there on. Every place Jesus went, they were jealous of him. The Jews said that as they counseled together, they said, he is a very powerful religious leader. We don't want him. We don't want him. What we need to do is see if we can figure out something that he did wrong, or catch him in one wrong thing. Does that remind you of our politics today? Mm-hmm. What we need to do is catch him in one wrong thing, and if we can do that, we'll have him killed, and he'll be out of the way. Otherwise, he's going to take our religion and our land and our nation away from us. Jealousy. They had no reason to be jealous. Jesus came to them first, didn't he? As he was doing miracles, he said, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. They went out. He was going down there in John the 4th chapter. He met a woman of ill repute there at Jacob's well and asked her to give him a drink of water. And she said, I am a Samaritan and you're a Jew and you asked me to give you a drink of water. He said, if you only knew who I am, you would ask me of water. I'll give you living water so that you'll never have to come and draw again. And she said, give me this water. She was ready for this water, and she said, then she realized that this is the prophet of God, and she said, now, you know what? We worship God in this mountain, Mount Gerizim, in Samaria, and you worship over there. Which one of us is right? And Jesus told her plainly, you don't know the will of God. We do. We know the will of God, and there, Jerusalem is the place to worship God. And she said, well, I know all things. I know that when the Messiah comes, he will tell us all things. And Jesus looked at her. He didn't hold back at all. He said, I am him. The one you're talking to is the Messiah. And then she took off. Told her to go get her husband. And then she said, I have no husband. She said, no, you don't. The one you're with now is somebody else's husband. And she took off and brought a whole town with her. She told them that, I mean, these are Gentiles now. These are half Jews. And they came and they listened. They believed. Jesus went down there, and that Syrophoenician woman, that her daughter was plagued with demons, she came to Jesus and she said, please, 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 please heal my daughter. She's in terrible pain. She's just being thrashed by this demon. And he said, I didn't come to the dogs. I didn't come to the dogs. I didn't come to the Gentiles. I've come to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. She said, yes, but even the puppies eat scraps, garbage from the master's table. And he said, I haven't seen such faith. These are those that came in late. Mm-hmm. These are the ones that came in late. Jesus talked to many Gentiles and tax collectors and prostitutes and evil workers. Can you imagine that Jesus on the cross of Calvary, he's being crucified and he's dying, and this one man over there says to him, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. He said, this day you will be with me in paradise. The last minute, that's this guy right here. This is what it's talking about. This is going to happen. And they grumbled. They were jealous. He said, didn't you agree with me for a day's wages? Take what is yours and go your way if I wish. To this last man, give him the same as you. Isn't it lawful for me to do what I wish with what is mine? Or is your eye evil? Is your eye envious? Is your eye jealous because I am generous? Thus the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. That's it. Now in Genesis, the 9th chapter, in verse number 24, let's go there really quick. And the last shall be first. Genesis, the 9th chapter. That's way back yonder, you know. Genesis, the 9th chapter. God tells us what's going to happen. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Here in the 9th chapter, Noah woke from his wine and knew what his son had done to him. He had cursed be Canaan, the servant of servants, and he shall be to his brothers. And we're talking about the Canaanites now. These are the Canaanites. And he shall be to his brothers. And he also said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Shem is, Shem's descendants are the Jews. Mm-hmm. That's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And let Canaan be his servant in the land of Canaan. And may God enlarge Japheth. Japheth is the Anglo-Saxon, the dogs. Mm-hmm. The dogs. And may God enlarge Japheth and let him dwell in the tents of Shem. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. And now they were getting ready to dwell in the tents of Shem. And Jesus was about to go up to Jerusalem. He took the 12 disciples aside by themselves along the way, and he said to them, behold, we're going up to Jerusalem. And the Son of Man must be delivered to the chief priests, scribes, and they will condemn him to death. and will deliver him up to the Gentiles to mock and to scourge and crucify him. And on the third day he shall be raised up. He shall be raised up. Jealousy, 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 jealousy. Now Jesus just told his church he's going to die, didn't he? Isn't that what he said? Now let's see what kind of conversation. Jealousy. And the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to him with her sons, bowing down and making a request of him. And he said to her, what do you wish? And she said to him, command that your kingdom, that in your kingdom the two sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and one on your left. Now she is thinking that the kingdom is going to be right here, right now, and that one guy's going to be the right-hand man, one guy's going to be the left-hand man. They're going to sit there on the right next to the throne. But Jesus answered and said, you do not know what you're asking for. Are you able to drink the cup that I'm about to drink? And they said to him, yeah, we are able. Oh, yeah. No, they weren't. And he said to them, my cup you shall drink, but to sit on my right hand, on my left, is not mine to give, but is for those whom it is prepared by my Father. Jealousy, jealousy even among the own church members. And hearing this, the 10 became indignant at the other brother. Now they're all mad at each other. They're all jealous. There's jealousy within the churches, or in the church at this time. But Jesus called them to himself. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. And it is not so among you, but whosoever wishes to become great among you, let him be your servant. Let him be your servant. And whosoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Remember that little letter of Philemon that Paul wrote? Philemon is no longer, Philemon, Onesimus is no longer your slave. He's your brother. And even though he stole himself and ran away, when you bring him back, you look at him as your brother. Not as a runaway, not that he ran away with your property, but he is your brother. Whosoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life for a ransom for many. I am your Goel, your kinsman redeemer. I'm that lamb that they cut his throat. And they were going out from Jericho, and a great multitude followed him, and behind 2 blind men sitting on the road, hearing that Jesus was passing by, and cried out, Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David. If you were blind, you looked upon that God was mad at you, that somebody in your family was a great sinner if you were blind. And the multitude sternly told them to be quiet, shut up. But they cried out all the more, saying, Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David. Son of David, they recognized him as Messiah, King of Israel. They didn't get to see him. They didn't see what he looked like, but they knew what he did. And his credentials were the credentials of the King of Israel. His messianic credentials. And Jesus stopped and called them and said, what do you wish for me to do for you? And they just said, Lord, we want our eyes to be opened. And moved with compassion, Jesus touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight, and they followed him. They followed him. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. They were looked down upon. But now they're going to be leaders. They're going to be leaders. God has something for each and every one of us to do. Charles Stanley just passed on to his reward. He lived a wonderful life of teaching and admonishing and encouraging God's people. The whole life. He's gone on to his reward. These people had something to do. Remember the Gadarene demoniac there about the Sea of Galilee out there in the area of the Gadarenes? had been plagued with demons, dashing, strong, powerful man. Everybody was afraid of him, and Jesus healed him. And then he told him, he said, I want to follow you. And he said, no, you go back to your neighborhood. Go back over there at Decapolis, and you start preaching. You tell your family what I've done for you. And he went over there, and many churches were established. He had a job to do. The first shall be last, and the last shall be heard first. Do you think the Jewish priests and Levites would have anything to do with that man? They were scared to death of him. But Jesus walked right in there among those demons and said, be quiet, get out of here. How about he told the story of the Good Samaritan. The Levites went by, the priests go by, and the Samaritan goes by, and he takes care of the man. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Our Father, we give you this message to take out through the world. Use it for your honor and glory. Touch people's lives with it. Because many of those last shall be first. Sometimes the first shall be last. Father, please forgive me where I failed you. In Jesus' name.